Welcome to Sports Bites. Welcome to Sports Bites with your host, Chris Joseph. Are you a sports fanatic who loves the thrill of the game and the delicious food that accompanies it?
And then they had chicken fingers, exotic chicken fingers.
Join us as we dive into the world of sports and the delectable bites that make the experience even better. Whether you're in the stadium, tailgating, or watching from the comfort of your home, get ready to satisfy your sports cravings with Chris Joseph on Sports Bites. Let's dig in.
What's up, everybody? Good Friday night. It is Football Friday night here on this edition of Sports Bites. I'm your host, Chris Joseph. Thanks for joining. A lot we're going to get into tonight. First, a little bit of house cleaning, little maintenance, if you will. If you look across the bottom of the screen, right? If you're watching on YouTube, Twitter, anything like that, you see all the social medias out there. Guys, it would do me a lot of good, and I would really appreciate any follows, any likes. It's free. I don't have any paywall service or anything like that. Just subscribe, follow, like, share. Let me know if you like the product. Let me know if you think I'm terrible, and it's okay. I can take some constructive criticism, but this is what I love to do. I love to talk sports. I love to have a little bourbon. I like to talk about some food, and I love interacting with the guests. I know there's a lot of people that come in here and have become regulars, and I love the fact they come in and we get a chance to talk sports. And I love that they feel like it is a safe place. They know they can come and talk sports, and we're going to have a good time with it regardless, right? But again, it is Football Friday night here on Sports Bites. I hope you guys are doing great. It's November. It's starting to get cooler in some places. I know Colorado and the Panhandle of Oklahoma had some snow today. You can keep that shit to yourself. I don't need any of that out here. That's why I moved to the South, to get away from that. Besides, here in Alabama, if it snows, the whole place shuts down. They freaking lose their mind. I remember when I first moved here, and they were like, "Yeah, we're canceling school," and I was like, "For what?" Well, there's a chance of snow. I was like, "A chance? A chance of snow? Come on! Surely you jest." No, they don't like it. They don't like the snow here, but a lot going on. Real quick before we get into the meat of everything, kind of give you a rundown of what's going on in the world of sports right now. College basketball has kicked off and is in full swing. And, man, Kansas looks really good. Kansas is taking it to North Carolina 53-38 at halftime. Gotta love I'm a big fan of college basketball, right? I've been a fan forever. Purdue, they're taking on Northern Kentucky 37-24. Cincinnati and Morehead State. Here's what could be surprising. Grambling is up on Ole Miss 36-27 in the second half. Whew. Alabama looks really good. They play Arkansas State. Auburn is really good. I watched them the other night against Vermont. A&M, of course, they lost to UCF first game. They play East Texas A&M. Texas, Houston Christian, Marquette. So Duke already beat Army, which would have been a cool game if Krzyzewski was still there since he was at Army. But big-time stuff there. Women's basketball, a lot of good teams, a lot of good players. It's going to be a lot of fun to watch this year's women's college basketball. LSU is playing tonight, Creighton, Louisville, and Jenny Baranczyk and the number 10 Oklahoma Sooners welcome in the Virginia Cavaliers. But, a lot of good stuff. Last night in the NFL, if you stayed up to watch the game, and at first I kind of laughed, like, I'm not going to watch this game. It's the Bengals, the Ravens. It ended up being a really damn good game. Really good game. And, Zach Taylor, I get it, going for two, trying to get the win. I mean, Jamar Chase, 11 receptions, 264 yards, 3 touchdowns. If you had to play against Jamar Chase in fantasy football, pouring out a little liquor for you because, oh, my goodness. Excuse me. But again, I've talked about it before on the show, and I've talked about it, a lot because of my past experience refereeing, people that I know that are officials, I'm not going to say the guy's name, but everybody remembers the intercept touchdown in the Seattle game. The guy who waved it off, not signaled a touchdown. I know that guy. Worked with him. Great guy. Bad spot. But what I saw last night in that Ravens game, it was terrible. There was one time Marlon Humphrey, Joe Burrow lets go of the ball. Humphrey took at least 2 more steps and drove his helmet to the back of Joe Burrow. Now, granted, I am not a Cincinnati Bengals fan. I'm a Washington Commanders fan. Loving life right now. We take on the Pittsburgh Steelers on Sunday. So, my buddy TJ, I hope you're watching. It's going to be a lot of fun. But then the final play of the game, this 2-point conversion, there was at least 3 different face masks. I mean, Joe Burrow gets hit and then grabbed around the face mask, nothing called. I mean, it was crazy. I don't understand how that stuff doesn't get called, especially when you have as many people on the crew as you do. I mean, I remember when I was doing high school football, we had a 5-man crew, and I thought we did a great job covering. You got 7-man crews plus everything. Come on. You guys have got to be better. You've got to be better. But another big week in the NFL. Looking ahead to some of the games, Giants, Panthers, nobody cares. Patriots, Bears, they haven't won a lot of games, but Drake May is really playing well for the Patriots. Bills, Colts. If you haven't seen the guy that sings "This Is Our Colts," he's been named Colts Fan of the Year. He changes it up every week for his opponent, and it's great. It's good stuff. Broncos, Chiefs, and an old AFC West rivalry. Falcons, Saints. Falcons playing really good with Kirk Cousins. 49ers, Bucks. I know my boy AJ. He's a big 49ers fan. And the Buccaneers trying to do it without 2 of their top receivers. Steelers and Commanders. Steelers at 6-2, Commanders at 7-2. So I'm excited to watch this game. Not only as a Commanders fan, but then it leads into next week. Next Thursday night, primetime, Eagles, Washington. Titans, Chargers, Eagles at the Cowboys, Jets, Cardinals, Lions, Texans. And the Texans, I don't know if you've seen them. I talk a lot about uniforms and what people are wearing, how good they look. The Texans are wearing their red with the red chrome helmet. And, man, they look really good. Let's see. Vandy Chris. First off, Vandy, how you doing, buddy? I hope you're doing all right. Did you see the news today that Diego Pavia has sued the NCAA over JUCO rules, limiting his ability to compete in D1 or pursue NIL as a JUCO player? I did not. I did not see that. I need to dive into that. I'm not a legal expert. I'm not a lawyer. I don't know where you would stand on that, as far as legal wise, but I think, I don't know, if it is the NCAA saying that JUCO players can't be paid NIL, I don't know. And maybe with this new scholarship limit that they're talking about, maybe more people will go to JUCO to get their skills up before they go to division. I don't know, but I'm glad you brought that up. I thank you. And I need to dive into that because that's, that's something I love. And I'll tell you this, Vandy, if you're still listening, buddy, I love his tenacity. Out there at Jordan Hare talking shit to people. His teammates got his back saying he's 3-0 again. I mean, I love it. I love it. Not your old Vanderbilt. They have a big game this week. I got that game in my preview list. I'm going to talk about South Carolina and Vanderbilt. To me, that's the most intriguing game for me. South Carolina and Vanderbilt. Now, everyone will say Alabama, LSU, Georgia, Ole Miss. But for me, I think South Carolina, Vanderbilt is going to be a tremendous game. Like the chess matches, the pieces involved. It's, Rocket Sanders got to have a big day. But we'll talk about that. But speaking of the NCAA, but Vandy Chris, thank you, sir. I do need to look into that. I will check into that. Need to get my knowledge up on that. But earlier this week, the college football playoff rankings were released. Your bracket, as if you're watching on any of the social medias, The bracket's in front of you. If you're not watching, I'll kind of explain everything. The four first games. Number 7, Penn State would host number 10, Notre Dame. And I'm going to say this about Penn State. Thank you. I appreciate. Yeah, please do send me that lawsuit. I'd love to peruse over it. I know somebody that I can call, John Solomon, because he was covering the Ed O'Bannon case against EA, so he knows a lot of like the sports legalese and stuff. So yeah, please send that. I will take a look at that for sure. But for the college football playoff rankings, this is why I hate like preseason rankings when there's teams that get so much love from the beginning, like Penn State. I made a TikTok earlier this week saying, when are people and why is nobody talking about Penn State being a fraud, right? I don't think they're a good football team. And this is not meant to take a shot at Iowa or anything like that. But to me, it was like, and Missouri, a lot of false bravado, if you ask me. For what? Franklin hasn't won anything there. They don't look good. I mean, the tight end's really good. He's got 54 pass receptions. The next closest receiver is a wide receiver. He's got like 20. They're not explosive. They're not. It's like people when they were bringing up Iowa last year. And that's my little boy. Hi, Dad. What's up, buddy? Hope you're doing all right up there. That just makes my day, man. But Penn State is not a good football team. Drew Aller struggles. They're not explosive. And like I said, it reminds me of Iowa when everyone was talking last year about Iowa saying, oh, they're a top 10 defense. Yeah, against unranked weak opponents. Against top 25 teams last year, they got beat a combined 94-0. That's not a good football team. I'm sorry. And I hate this because Penn State is sitting there now in a catbird spot to get a playoff. And I hate it because I don't think they're that good of a football team. I don't. I'm sorry. It's not that I hate Penn State. They play Washington this week, but if you look what's left for Penn State, Washington, Purdue. Now, Minnesota could sneak up on them because Minnesota, I think they're 6-3 right now. Minnesota could sneak up on them. But I'm not sold on Penn State. But here you go. Penn State, Notre Dame, College Station. I'm all right, State College. I'm sure they would make that a whiteout game, right? They would have to make that a whiteout game. First playoff game at State College, Happy Valley, going nuts. Going nuts. In Austin, Texas, 6 seed Texas would host number 11 Alabama. Great matchup. I'm going to circle back to that. Columbus, Ohio, the Ohio State Buckeyes would host Boise State. Tough matchup. Probably one of the most intriguing ones, Knoxville, Tennessee. Tennessee and Indiana. We'll see. The same can be said of Alabama. If they went out during the playoffs with a loss to Vanderbilt. Right. And here's what's crazy, though. And I still listen to my guys out in Oklahoma. When I'm out driving and stuff during the day, there's a lot of people who are starting to say you can't just say you lost to Vanderbilt because of the way Vanderbilt is playing. And I think that says a lot to Clark Lee and that program and what they've done. Every man on that roster, they have changed the outlook on Vanderbilt. Now, can they build on it? Can they build on it and move forward? But I love I don't know if you saw Vandy, Chris. I know staying away from politics and stuff, but on election night, the internet always wins, right? The internet always wins when they put said a declared winner of Alabama and it had Diego Pavilla's head on there. I thought it was hilarious. I loved it. I'm here for it. It's one of those like, what can you say? You beat both Alabama teams. You can't say anything. He's now 3-0 against Hugh Freeze. Whoo. Tennessee, Indiana will be very interesting. Indiana sitting there, they would probably lose to Ohio State. Then you got Ohio State losing to Oregon. But it'd be interesting if it flipped, if Indiana beat Ohio State and then played Oregon. I don't know. Like, there's still a lot of football left, guys. But that Texas-Alabama game is intriguing because this would be, if it stayed like this, let's just say hypothetically it stays like this. This would be the third time in 3 years consecutive, boom, 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 that these two teams would have played. Played in Austin, Texas lost. Played in Tuscaloosa, Texas won. This one will be in Austin again and a playoff. DKR. Really intriguing matchup. But again, Alabama, you're sitting on the precipice of not even being in the playoff because you've got an elimination game this week, and we're going to talk about that. Alabama and LSU. For me, that's essentially an elimination game. Whoever loses that game, gone. See what Vandy says. Here's my problem. Indiana can win out beating Ohio State and Oregon, go 13-0, and be a lower seed than any SEC champion, and likely a lower seed than number one or both OSU and Oregon. Well, if they win, they would be a top 4 seed, right? Oregon wouldn't be in there because the top 4 seeds go to the conferences. So if Indiana wins out and wins the Big Ten, I don't see why they wouldn't be a number one, because then you have to beat Ohio State and Oregon. And if you've run that table, you beat Ohio State and Oregon, that's what everyone thinks is the top of the Big Ten. I think and this is a big if, Kurt Scanetti, I love him. If they go out there and beat Ohio State and beat Oregon, yeah. Because if I'm not mistaken, the number 4 seeds are the 4 conference champions. And I think that's why they moved BYU up to number 4, right? Because they'd win they're the 4th seed because they're ranked 9th, but they would be the Big 12 champion. So no, it's probably going to be a little confusing at first. I want to see more polls come out, but then you see it goes into the bowl games next. You got the Sugar Bowl, the Peach Bowl, the Fiesta Bowl, the Rose Bowl. I've been to a Sugar Bowl. I have not been to a Peach Bowl. I've been to the Fiesta Bowl. And I'd probably say the best time I had was at the Fiesta Bowl, going out to Arizona. Had a really good time out there. Not a great game. That was when Oklahoma played Connecticut. And just wasn't the funny thing about it is it was in the 50s at night. You know, there was a lot of media parties and stuff going on. And we're outside. And like I said, we got like light jackets and stuff, and the Connecticut media, they're jumping in the pool having a blast because it's late December, January. They're used to it being snowy and icy. They're like 50 degrees. Let's hop in the pool, buddy. But no, this year is going to be really intriguing. Top 4 seeds. They would still not get the number 1 seed overall, even at 13 of SEC champions, 100%. You're probably right. You're probably right. Because I think they would, Chris, I think they would not benefit because their name is Indiana. Now, if that was Penn State and they had beaten Ohio State and then they beat Oregon, Ohio State or Penn State might get that 1 seed. Again, the name. Because still, people hear of Indiana and they think Hoosier basketball, maybe Antoine Randall L., but they're not, Michael Penix when he first came into college football, but they're not, I think they're going to get penalized because of the name, if you ask me, if they're able to do that. Now, if they are able to do that, I'm going to tell you one thing. Kurt Scanetti is going to have a ton of money thrown at him. A ton of money thrown at him. It'll be interesting. Let's hop into our first games we're going to talk about. We're going to talk about an SEC matchup. The Georgia Bulldogs and the Ole Miss Rebels. 2 teams that I think are confusing. And I say confusing because which Ole Miss team is going to show up? Which Georgia team is going to show up? Is it the Ole Miss that ran roughshod through Arkansas? Is it the Ole Miss that struggled against a not very good Oklahoma team? Now, Oklahoma's defense is good, but, you look at what they've scored lately, and they haven't been scoring a lot of points in the SEC except that Arkansas game. Georgia has warts of their own. Carson Beck, he started throwing the ball to the other team a lot. And for me, I think it's because they don't have a ground game that they can just believe on, right? But if that chess match of Kirby and Lane is intriguing to me because I know Kirby's going to have stuff schemed out for anything Lane brings to him, right? He's going to have schemes for all that. And if Ole Miss is not hitting deep shots, their offense seems to sputter. Now they got people out. I saw their availability report, and for the first time all season, somebody had a longer availability report than Oklahoma. I mean, they got a ton of people at Ole Miss. If Georgia starts slow like they've done for 2 solid seasons and fall behind, will they have enough juice to come from behind with the game on card? I don't know, and that's what I'm talking about. I mean, Carson Beck came into the year, and I'm sure you heard, you follow the SEC. You're in SEC country. You watch ball. That everyone was talking about. He was a surefire first rounder. I was not in that group saying he was a surefire first round. I don't know. Like you watch that Florida game, and some of the throws he made, I don't know what he's looking at. But he's throwing the ball away a lot, and I think with what you hit the nail right on the head there, Vandy Chris. If the game's on Carson Beck's shoulders, I don't think so. I don't think so. You know, and you look at what Georgia has remaining. They got Ole Miss, Tennessee. So if they go back-to-back losses, boom, boom. Now you're talking about Georgia not being involved. That's a 3-loss team. And it's very possible. Very possible. But, you know, it's funny how the year progresses because after week 1, everyone's like, oh, Clemson, man. Yeah, they're back. You know, then they beat Texas. And you're like, yeah, this team. But you saw signs of the warts against Alabama with the interceptions. And just, I don't know. I don't know. I think it's the lack of running game, my honest opinion, for the Georgia Bulldogs. And I think Beck trying to juggle too much, dating one of the Kavner twins, driving around in Athens in a Lambo, which I don't know if that's a good idea for any Georgia player to have a vehicle that can go that fast. But Vaught Hemingway Stadium, Jackson Dart, you know, the line is Georgia, and it's been moving. So the line is now Georgia by 1.5. It started Georgia by 2.5. So the line is moving. It'll be interesting to see if there's that kind of, you know, late surge tomorrow before that game. But yeah, that game, it's a 2:30 kickoff on ABC, ESPN Plus. Man, I think I'll tell you who I picked. Georgia leads the series 33-12-1. I'll tell you who I picked when I have mine. Give them a 6 or 6 picks. Next game, Vandy. We were talking about Indiana. I think this is a huge game. Huge game. Hey, whoever this is, what's up? All it says is Facebook user. Excuse me. Just says Facebook user. I'm sorry. I'm good. Having a little bourbon, talking a little sports, right? But Indiana, Michigan. Who would have thought that this game, and you're sitting there going, can Michigan cover the 14? I mean, the way Indiana's played, even when Curtis Rourke went out, they didn't miss a beat. They play good defense. They can score from anywhere on the field. Curtis Rourke, 2,200 yards, 19 tutties, 3 interceptions, so he takes care of the ball. Well, Indiana go 12-0. Man, we're just talking about Indiana. Just talking about them. You know, they're 9-0 right now. I think they beat Michigan, right? I just, from what I've seen from Michigan, they don't have a guy who could complete the forward pass. They're all 3 yards in a cloud of dust. Alex Orji can't. I mean, it's I don't know how you go from being a national champion to where you may not even make it to a bowl game. But I think they beat Michigan. The test is Ohio State. That's going to be the test. And what I'm hoping happens is I'm hoping that it's not like some of these, you know, like everyone, oh, yeah, it's Indiana. We're playing. Nope. But from what I've seen, that to me goes to coaching, having your team prepared, people believing in the process, people believing in the game plan. And I think Kurt Cignetti has done a fantastic job getting people to buy into his game plan. And like I said, even when Rourke went out, the offense still moved the ball, still put up points. And I love it. I'm here for it. Well, you see these teams make a run. Michigan leads the series 62-10. So it's not a rivalry. It's a competition. You know, when you're that far, it's not a rivalry. It's not a rivalry. I always like when people are like, oh, here's this Big Ten rivalry. It's not a rivalry. Michigan owns Indiana. But I love the way Indiana's playing football. I love the way they play team football. Each facet of the game is complementary to everybody else, right? Special teams, defense, offense. Everybody does their job. Everybody shows up. Everybody knows their assignments. Compared to Michigan, where there's a lot going on. A lot going on. And I don't have faith in the Michigan quarterbacks. I don't think they have the ability to be explosive. Now, you've got running backs that could be explosive, but no. Davis Warren, Alex Orgy, Jack Tuttle, they're not good at quarterback. They're not. And they're not as good defensively as everybody was saying. Like, they were coming in saying Michigan was going to be one of the best defenses in the country. Nope. Not going to happen. I like Indiana to cover this game. I love Indiana to cover this game. Now, talking about Vanderbilt and South Carolina. Love this game. To me, this is one of the games that I'm really, really excited about this weekend because of just the sauce involved in all of it, right? One of the teams should have been in the top 25. Sure. AP, I think Vanderbilt was in the AP top 25. But this game right here, it's huge. And it's huge for going in the next year and building and for bowl placement where they could go. I mean, Shane Beamer, there was people talking about maybe he was on the hot seat at the beginning of the year. Now, with how they've played, everybody's loving Beamer ball mania at Willie B. Everybody's chanting Sandstorm, having a good time. Lenore Sellers really played well in that A&M game. Really played well. Rocket Sanders, for me, was the person that made that game plan and made the play of South Carolina be that more impressive. And look, we all know, if you watch SEC ball, if you watch ball period, you know the names on the South Carolina defense, right? Nick Emenworry. I think Nick Emenworry is one of the best defensive backs in the country. He leads the team in tackles, right? Had to pick 6 against Oklahoma. He's got 2 pick 6 on the year, right? Debo Williams, a linebacker, all over the place. Kyle Kennard, Dylan Stewart, their edges, that's scary. If Vandy goes back to the misdirection and eye candy, they can neutralize the defensive line for South Carolina. I don't think Sanders has thrown the ball against the secondary as Vandy. Probably not. I mean, you know, I've not really bought in on Lenore Sellers being a great quarterback. He showed his speed. I think he goes back and forth. Vandy winning late 33-27. You're probably right. Like, I'm expecting a good game, right? Now, A&M or South Carolina coming off the win at A&M, you know, the emotion, Vanderbilt beating Auburn, you know, for Pavia. Now you got to play ball. And if you look at it, like I said, I think that's what's going to be key defensively against your Vanderbilt Commodores. I think Nick Emenworry is going to be key because I think you're right. I think they're going to try to bring some of that misdirection, some of the eye candy, you know, that they did to Alabama. And it worked to perfection. But the thing that's good now is they have a guy in Pavia that can make you pay. If you suck up and they've let somebody go out in the route, he can make that throw. He'll step up, get hit in the chin, he'll still throw it. And he'll put a dot out there. That's why I think Nick Emenworry is the key for South Carolina on defense because, look, Vanderbilt's not a drop back passing team. They're not going to take you're not going to have 5, 7 step drops. That's not Vanderbilt. So it could neutralize the two defensive ends. That's why I think Nick Emanwuri is the key in this game. Nick Emanwuri, like I said, I've been impressed with him from the get-go. He had one pick six called back against LSU, which was bogus as all can be. But this game, man, I'm really looking forward to this game. And if you'd have told me at the beginning of the year, and Vandy Chris knows this, I was not high on Vanderbilt. I wasn't. Hadn't seen enough, but and Vandy Chris was right. He brought up Pavia saying, hey, he's won an SEC, stadiums before, and it's played out just like that. Right? Shane Beamer putting out more bulletin board. Beamer on Diego Pavia. I never thought that guy would end up in the SEC. Yeah. I mean, that's why he was taking shots at Hugh Freeze. How about your linebacker, Vandy, that put the post out, the message he got from Auburn? Yeah. We had a spirited debate about it. But again, as a man, I can admit when I'm wrong. And I told you that. I was wrong. I've been impressed with what I've seen from him, and I hope it continues. But I'm really intrigued about this. And yeah, Pavia is going to use that as motivation, as you should. You should. I don't care what you have to use. If that motivates you, here, Beamer said, oh, you didn't think and believe me, he's heard it. In today's world, instant news, click, instant everything, right? Diego has heard this comment. I promise you he's heard this comment. With Shane Beamer saying, I didn't expect that guy in the SEC, Diego has heard the comment. Of course, now he's going to want to go out there and prove Shane Beamer and everybody wrong again. Because I think there's a ton of people who don't give Vanderbilt a shot, right? I think there's a ton of people who don't give Vanderbilt a shot. And I think they wear that chip on their shoulder. I never would have thought at the beginning of the year, if you'd have told me that I would be in week 11 pumped about South Carolina Vanderbilt. I'd have told you you're crazy. I'd have said you'd had one too many of these. But here we are. I mean, Vanderbilt let a couple slip out that, Georgia State, they're kicking themselves about Georgia State. Missouri should have beat Missouri. Missouri is the fraud that I thought they were, with old Millhouse at the coach, Eli Drunkwitz. Should have won that game. Texas, they had a shot at the end. I think, seriously, Vanderbilt should only have one loss and be in the talk for a college football playoff. I think Vanderbilt will be an underdog in every SEC game this season. It may end up with a 500 record or better in the SEC. Hell, they're probably going to end up with a better record in Oklahoma in the SEC. Shit, we got to win out. We got to beat Missouri, Bama, and LSU. That ain't happening. I think we win this weekend. I'll talk about that, but 2 SEC victories. Woohoo! Welcome to the SEC, right? But you also know, Vandy, that I was not one of the Oklahoma people saying that Oklahoma was going to come in here and run the SEC. I was not that guy. I said 7-5. They could get close. If they win tomorrow, that's 6. Then they have to pull off some miracle upset. Who knows? Because Alabama is going to be all beat up, Also, I don't think any of this happens without the loss at Georgia State. That was a huge learn. Probably. But you'd like to have a little more faith in Clark Lee and Pavia and everybody bought in and, that confidence. But I will say because they picked themselves off the turf because they lost back-to-back games. They lost the Georgia State game close, 36-32. Now, Vanderbilt, this is a team that used to get a 50-burger hung on them every SEC game. They're not doing that. Alabama scored the most points on them 35. I mean, Missouri scored 30. Georgia State scored 36. But SEC-wise, man. But no, I'm excited about this game. I'll show you who I'm picking later. 3:15 on the SEC Network. If you have YouTube TV, you can get in the little quad box. I love the quad box when it comes time to watch football. I love it. Now, we go to the Big 12. My dog decided I think my wife is home from work. How about this one? Colorado, Texas Tech. Coach Prime in Lubbock. Tortilla tossing Texas Tech fans. Prime with a chance to possibly make it to the Big 12 championship game. Last weekend, the upsets. Texas Tech knocked off Iowa State. Kansas State lost to a not very good Houston team. That let BYU and Colorado benefit. Because as you look at it, in the standings in the Big 12, right? BYU is clearly ahead. They're undefeated, number one. But now you've got Iowa State and Colorado tied at 4-1. Iowa State has a matchup with Kansas State that's sitting at 4-2. So there's still a lot of teams that could be in play here because if Texas Tech beats Colorado, Kansas State beats Iowa. I mean, you've got all kinds of craziness. All kinds of craziness. But here's Colorado in year 2 under Coach Prime. I know there's a lot of people that don't like him, what he stands for, what he's about. You know, a lot of stuff is made up. 6-2. They're second in the Big 12 in his second year with a chance to make it to the Big 12 championship game. Remaining schedule for the Colorado Buffaloes at Texas Tech this weekend. Lubbock, always a weird place to play. Oklahoma was there always just weird. Utah, I don't think Utah's, coming off the holy war against BYU. At Kansas, a very big, disappointing team this year. And Oklahoma State. And I brought up and I put out a TikTok about Gundy. Gundy, did y'all hear Gundy talking about people bitching about his team? But he basically said, don't be poor. And the only people that bitch about what's going on in football can't afford to pay their bills. What a buffoon. And yeah, you're being real. Cool, you're being real. But let's, you sit there and basically said, don't be poor. Poor people, you're still going to bed of failure and you can't pay your own bills. I'm like, oh my God. But Gundy's sitting there, hasn't won a game in the Big 12. And when you have Ollie Gordon, all these guys coming back, the leadership, right? The leadership. And you haven't won a game in the Big 12. It's not a good look. It's not a good look. Bowman having a terrible year in his 32nd year playing college football. Shedeur Sanders playing well. I still don't think he's the number one quarterback. Ollie Gordon hasn't even eclipsed 600 yards. Hasn't even gone over 600 yards on this year. It's sad. But this game here, again, Travis Hunter's going to have to be playing big. He's leading the Big 12 in receiving. Travis Hunter leads the Big 12 in receiving. An offensive-minded conference, Travis Hunter leads the league in receiving. 60 receptions, 757 yards, 8 touchdowns. Also what he does on defense. They know he's going to get the ball, and he's still making plays. I think he's earned his spot in New York. I don't think Shedeur is going to go, but I do think Travis will be there, and I think Travis has a good chance to win it. I think if I had to pick, it would be between him and Genty right now. And depending on if Genty can get to the Ricky Williams, Barry Sanders like numbers at the end of the year, then possibly could see another running back win the Heisman Trophy. But again, this game in Lubbock, and it'll be interesting to see the weather because I mentioned all the snow and everything that's been happening. Colorado, in the Panhandle of Oklahoma, which is right by where Lubbock is, and it's saying 67 degrees at kickoff. We'll see. It could change in a heartbeat out there. It's weird weather out there in the Panhandle. Colorado won the Big 12. Do you think they're a better team than BYU, Iowa State? I've not bought Iowa State all year. BYU is interesting in the fact that here's a team that was 5-7 last year. Kalani Sitake, great job. Jake Retzlaff and our betting expert, the college football dogs, Jeremy Orth, watching the analytics on BYU saying that they can't keep winning this. They can't keep winning this way. And he's probably right. But again, I want to see, this week will tell me a lot about Colorado moving forward this year. Going on the road, Texas Tech, they're going to be going nuts. I forgot about him. You're right. Absolutely. See, and I did it right there. Absolutely. I think what he's done has been amazing. You know who's pissed off? Is Brian Ferentz right now watching that happening because he lost his job because they couldn't score any points. Now you got a running back out there that's trucking fools, and he'll be in action here in a little bit, in like 15 minutes. Oh, Caleb Johnson averaging 7.5 yards a carry, Vandy. 7.5 yards a carry. Whoo. 19 tutties, 1,279 yards. And again, you bring up like Genty, everyone knows he's going to get the ball, and he's still averaging 7.5 yards a carry. That's impressive. It's impressive. I love that. I've got Colorado beating Texas Tech. Now, for me, I would laugh because you would see people's heads explode if Colorado wins the Big 12 and gets into the college football playoffs. Coach Prime in the playoffs, baby. It'd be like Ric Flair styling and profiling. They'll be doing all this. Yeah. That'd be crazy. But I'm here for it. Big matchup down in the Bayou. A real Tiger is going to be on the sidelines. Crazy stuff happening in this game. Alabama leads this series 56-27-5. And here we are. This is an elimination game. Plain and simple. You lose this game, you're done. You're not making the playoffs. Sorry. You're not. Nussmeier's got to play better than what he did against A&M. Jalen Miller has to be more consistent as well. That's why I think Jam Miller is a huge factor for Alabama having success on the road, because we all saw Alabama when they struggled on the road, right? When they struggle on the road, there's no communication. Tennessee, when they're getting loud, I think it was loud at Tennessee. It's going to be loud there in night game in Death Valley. All the corn dogs would have had a few beverages. They'll be liquored up, ready to go. The communication wasn't there. The discipline's not there sometimes for Alabama. And I think it's crazy because they've gone from one of the least penalized teams in the SEC to one of the most. And a lot of people here in Alabama are saying that's it's the fault of Kalen DeBoer, letting people paint their fingernails, the celebrations, But again, if they win this game, they set themselves up to be in the playoff. Because then they got Mercer, they go to Oklahoma, and then the Iron Bowl. It's always an interesting game, the Iron Bowl. But again, Alabama is a better team than Auburn right now. Ryan Williams, I think what he brings to the table, yes, he's 17. Oh, but he's just a good football player. I don't care how old he is. He can play football. Garrett Nussmeier's got to make better throws. The line, I'll be interested to see how the LSU line responds, because they hadn't given up sacks all year. Texas A&M got to in the second half. So that's what I'm interested in seeing. Can that offensive line for LSU keep Alabama out of the backfield? But it's going to be one of those. They might turn the lights off. They might play a little Boosie, set it off, get the whole crowd going. Band over in the corner playing neck. And it could spell the end for Alabama. And I will tell you, living here in Alabama, if they lose this game to LSU and they don't make the playoffs in the first year, whoo, it's going to be spicy for Kalen DeBoer, Sports Talk Radio, everything. It will be spicy for Kalen DeBoer if they lose this game. Brian Kelly, all his little funny quirks. Now you're looking back, that LSU USC loss. Now it's not a good loss. You're looking back going, oh, that's not a good loss for our guys. But LSU finishes with Alabama, at Florida, Vanderbilt. Vandy's got to go to Death Valley. And they close with Oklahoma, which I don't know why Oklahoma got selected as the end of the year rivalry weekend game with LSU, but oh well. I don't think I'm going to go. I do know I'm trying to secure tickets in December to watch the Commanders go play the Saints. My wife is from Mandeville, Louisiana, and our kid who popped up, you saw him pop up in the mentions here. Our man River, he is a football maniac. We went and bought him a new football today, an official college football. He's got like 3 NFL jerseys. He's got a Jefferson, a Stafford, and a Gibbs jersey from Detroit, the black. So I mean, he's all football. I love it. I go in his room and he's watching one-handed catch videos on YouTube, and we're out throwing the ball, just having it's a lot of fun. It's a lot of fun being able to do stuff like that. Okay, Graham Simpson. What school's he at? Bergen Hall's 42, 0 interceptions. You've got to be kidding me. Oh, he's the brother of 5. Yeah. Okay. Damn. 43 touchdowns as a freshman. That's incredible. I don't care what level of football you play on. Hell, you're not going to do that on 7-on-7s. Yeah, I'm screenshotting. I'm making a record. I'm going to go look him up. I'm going to talk to some of my people that I still know that work for 247 and get an idea there. That's impressive. Man. Okay. Good for him. Now, a lot of, I always talk about food, right? And so I love chicken tenders. Martin, Westview in Tennessee has only 43. Holy shizy. Only 43 incomplete passes? Kids out there throwing darts, man. I need to look up his huddle film. I need to look this up now and find that out. But talking about tenders, man, look, I love tenders. There's a new place that's opened up here. I live in Vestavia Hills, Alabama. There's a new place. That's right. You're right. He's the head coach at UT Martin. Of course, Martin has, or actually Oklahoma has that guy Franklin that came from UT Martin at running back. The little guy. He fumbled last week. But yeah, that's right. But I love tendies. Love them. Now, I won't get a lot of them at fast food. There's certain ones, they're just not good. I mean, like if you've had Burger King tenders, terrible. McDonald's, terrible. Sonic, terrible. I'm surprised Carl's Jr.'s aren't as good, Hardee's, but they're not as good, right? And I'm going to tell you one that's probably not on a lot of people's radar. And I love it. I think it's some of the best. It's the best chicken tender out there. One of my top 5. It's freaking Long John Silver's, man. The Long John Silver's fish and more plate when you got the 2 fillets of fish and like the 3 chicken with that batter and the little crunchies and stuff like that. Dip it in some of the vinegar. I love Long John Silver's chicken. Sorry. At me all you want. I love Long John Silver's chicken tenders. I think they're really good. Now, Popeyes, I love Popeyes. I also love Popeyes like the blackened grilled tenders, right? Trying to eat a little healthier. The grilled tendies, the blackened season, Cajun season. I like the spice. And the good thing too, when you're getting, if you didn't know, when you order the grilled blackened tenders, they have to make them fresh. Have to. Little food hack there. Now the big question is, are you a Zaxby's or a Raising Cane person? Zaxby's or Raising Cane's. Now, I've had both. I love both. I have a Zaxby's up the road. Now, when I was in Oklahoma, I used to come out to Alabama. It would have Zaxby's. Would always hate that it wasn't Oklahoma. Finally opened up, and they would advertise with the radio station I work in. I used to do my shows at Zaxby's. Loving it. Captain D's over Long John. Carl's over Hardee's. See, I hadn't got there yet. I love Slim Chickens. There was a Slim Chickens in Norman, Oklahoma, Vandy, and I went there all the time. I probably fast food wise, I like that. Now I'm going to take Raising Cane's over Zaxby's all day. Okay. I think Zaxby's has gone too far with some of their menu and some of the stuff they're doing to where Raising Cane's is tenders, toast, sauce, fries. Simple, right? Simple. But I'm going to tell you who's got some good, it may not be fast food, but I'm going to tell you who's got some good tenders. If you live in an area that has a Publix grocery store, get the there's times I'll get the 3 tender meal with double mashed potatoes, get a little bit of that white pepper gravy, mashed potatoes, you get a sweet Hawaiian roll, the 3 tenders. And those tenders look like damn baby arms, man. Like those aren't small tenders. You get 3 tenders, you're full up. It's not like, and I agree. Slim Chickens, 100% over Chick-fil-A. 100%. If I had to put fast food, I'd probably put Slim Chickens number 1 for me. After that would probably be the Cane's / Zaxby's, Popeyes, and then, Long John's. I can't say that I've had now you're making one. I know where one's at. And the reason I say so, have you heard of Dave's Hot Chicken? Now, I know there's a lot of people doing hot chicken restaurants and stuff like this, but this one looks amazing. It looks, it's literally up the road. I was taking my kid to Target today to go buy the football that he wanted because I knew it was there at Target. And we drove past it. And he's like, what's going on there? And I was telling him, well, it's a hot chicken place. And they've got, he's like, and again, watching YouTube, he's like, do they have like eating challenges? Like, I don't think they have the eating challenge, but I know they've got like super spicy. He's like, well, I want to try their spicy. I'm like, bro, they got a Carolina Reaper tender. And he's like, yeah, no, I don't want to do that. But you could do it. I could film you and you could put it on your YouTube page. And then he said, I think it'd be funny to watch you suffer. Thanks, bud. Love you. But if you've heard of Dave's Hot Chicken, gotta let me know. Now I love like Nashville hot, hot honey. Publix does a hot honey tender now. That's great. Don't eat it in the car. You get it all over yourself and in the car. But it's really, really good. But some of these, like the coloring to Dave's Hot Chicken tenders, the tenders look angry. Like they're so just dark, deep, angry red. But man, I love some tenders. I'm gonna have to go. They've got sliders. They've got I think you get like little spicy bites, like they're nuggets that are flavored in the hot to Reaper, nuclear, whatever their the moniker is that they use. But I'm gonna have to go try out some Dave's Hot Chicken. Love it. Guys, that's gonna do it for me tonight. I love you. Thank you guys for coming on, Vandy. I appreciate you taking part. Everybody that comment, everybody that viewed, everybody that liked. Remember, subscribe, follow, share. Thank you. Don't forget tonight, 8:30, the Golden Boot podcast, guys. Vandy Chris, he's there. George, Cody, talking some ball, right? They're going to have a good time. They put on a good show. I think they've got an interview they're playing. Or if I missed it on Monday, I apologize. I think they got an interview they're playing. It's going to be really good. You guys should check them out. Participate. Go like the Golden Boot podcast. Follow them. You can follow the College Football Dogs, man. And we've got, if you're a Kentucky fan, we got Raid in the Air podcast. If you like Nebraska, Rock Hard Ball. I mean, we got the Buckeye Bros. So we got everybody covered. Everybody covered. Just keep it tuned in here. That's going to do it for me, do it for me tonight, guys. Thank you, everybody. I appreciate you coming in. And remember, as we always say, positively move forward, guys.
Thanks for joining us on this delicious journey through the world of sports and food on Sports Bites with your host, Chris Joseph. We hope you've enjoyed the game day stories and culinary adventures. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button. And if you've got any mouth-watering sports-related tales or favorite game day recipes, share them with us on social media. Until next time, remember, it's not just about the game. It's about the bites that make it unforgettable. Stay hungry for more Sports Bites.